So welcome, projectors. We're on day 2, recalibration day. I hope that you have either watched the replay or that you attended live with me yesterday for day 1, where we dove into unlearning and a lot of the myths around deconditioning and the importance of conditioning for projectors. So if you haven't actually consumed that masterclass as yet, and that means you probably haven't done the homework either, it is ideal that you do that in completion before you dive into this experience. We are cultivating an immersion here, a journey through this process over these 3 days. And at this point, we are getting set up for recalibration. So we're going to start with a grounding just to land in the space and really create that retreat ambiance for ourselves here today. So I ask you to keep a tall seat that is going to allow you to stay a little bit more awake rather than dropping into too much relaxation, so that when we emerge, you're actually ready to receive all of the information, insights, the knowledge, and the wisdom that you're here to receive today. So dropping the eyes closed, just checking in with the inner world of your body, making sure that you do feel in a comfortable, supported seat. And if there's any adjustments that you need, please take those now. We have very, very sensitive bodies, projectors. So it's important to acknowledge those sensitivities and also nourish our bodies and give these bodies what they need so that they can function at their most optimal level. They're very, very sophisticated instruments that we have been gifted. So it is best to take the best care of them and really treat them like the temple that they are. We'll be diving into that a little bit more today and tomorrow. Checking in with your breath. Just allowing your body to breathe you. And just sinking into the receivership of that breath. The knowingness that each new breath will come just in time. Allowing your body to reoxygenate and allowing your body to release the wastes of carbon dioxide. This process is essential to life, and it happens mostly unconsciously. And just taking a moment now as you witness your breath to give a bit of thanks, give some reverence to the simplicity but the essential nature of your breath. It's a beautiful mirror for the simplicity of a projector, but the complexity of our essential nature and the complexity that it can feel at times to operate in a world that is not quite designed for us. Any thoughts or residue of experiences, ideas, thinking, problem solving that has happened so far in the course of your day, just putting those down, creating a separation between the mind's busyness and the body's presence. Setting an intention to receive. Setting an intention to surrender any expectations and just be open to listen and allow this experience to wash through your vehicle, through your vessel, less so being filtered through the mind. Placing your hands over your heart and deeply expressing gratitude to yourself for just being here in this seat, for disconnecting from the busyness and the demands that I know are there in your life, just to honor yourself as a projector for these few days, to create this sacred container where you can lean back a little, expand, recalibrate, and rebirth yourself as a projector for 2025. You have invested your time well. trust the path that led you to be in this space and to show up for yourself on this day. With that, gently taking some movement in the body, stretch, release, open, waking up. And as you land back in the space, eyes open, ready to receive. Welcome back. So just quickly, a little bit of housekeeping first of all. So with these calls, we just want to utilize the chat if you have anything to contribute. We're trying to keep a really clean integrity with the sound quality and the recording so that those that cannot attend live are really getting a nice seamless experience. So thank you for understanding that. The chat is there for you. Also, each day, the recorded session will be emailed to you in the form of a link, so you can rewatch the session, or if you're here watching the replay, then you've already figured out how to access that. There is also homework to do each day, and this is important. This cannot be a retreat by just showing up to a Zoom session because we are so programmed to do that. And when we do that, we usually go into the mind space, and we're trying to avoid that as much as possible in these 3 days because that's a comfortable place for projectors, but it's not where we are designed to exist and live through. So this experience, this virtual retreat has been carefully curated despite being online to make the attempt to really bring you into an immersive experience. So the homework, the work we're doing in between the sessions is just as important as what you're receiving during these masterclasses that might feel a little bit more familiar and easier to just sort of sit and receive. So we'll be going through a little bit of the homework from yesterday, and we'll have a little bit of a look at that now. I'll pull that slide up. I'm just going to start to share my screen. Okay, so day 1, this was our unlearning. So hopefully you have actually made sure that you have downloaded that sacral cleansing audio. This is an extremely essential part of this experience. And ideally, you want to be doing this 15-minute meditation twice a day. Once is the minimum. If you live with, particularly sleep with, a sacral human, a generator, it is especially important that you are doing this practice in the morning because you are being conditioned by their sacral energy while you're sleeping at night. So morning practice for sure, evening practice as well for everybody because you're going to be in sacral energy throughout your day. It's a really simple but beautiful practice to have on repeat and have as a routine and ritual within your projector armamentarium. The words are going to be interesting today. Have to check the transits. So that's the sacral cleansing audio. You can find it. The link has been shared in the emails that you're receiving after each day if you haven't managed to locate that yet. The reflective exercise from yesterday, our unlearning, was looking at what are you taking in on a daily basis that you know is not good for you, but you are doing it anyway. When we think about taking in, we're thinking about this very spongy projector physical vehicle. It is absorptive. Yes, our aura is focused and penetrating, but the vehicle is absorptive. We are really here to receive a lot so that we can garner all of that information, that wisdom, and then we can actually use that to guide the other. So really reflecting on this taking in, this is food. This is substances. Maybe caffeine is not great for you as a projector. I'm having an experiment with this right now. I'm fasting from coffee, not caffeine. coffee. So I stopped drinking coffee on January 6th, and I'm doing this until the 31st. It's been an interesting exploration so far, and sometimes things that we enjoy aren't necessarily conducive for the projector vehicle. But I also have a design of needing to enjoy the finer things in life. So I'm just trying to play within that space at the moment and just explore this. And it is all an experiment. So you are here to also craft your own. Taking in humans, like who are you spending time with? Who are you allowing into your physical space? Your physical space. You are absorbing your physical space. This goes beyond, toxins in the home. This is what you are seeing, what you are smelling, the textures that your body is coming into contact with. All of these things can be conducive or destructive or draining to the projector energy. So really reflecting deeply on all the different things that you may be taking in. Information, this is a big one. Social media. Are you doom scrolling? What are you consuming? What is polluting your projector view, your lens with which you see the world? So start getting really specific, because you are carrying a very, very precious and delicate instrument. Delicate in the sense that it's sophisticated in its simplicity. It's not delicate in the sense that we need to be resting all the time, which is one of those very negative, homogenized beliefs out there amongst projectors. And I don't think it's doing us much good. So, what are these things? What might they be? Which are the one or two or three that you know in your body is not good for you, but you're doing anyway? Name it. And then I invite you to the additional challenge of choosing one of these from this list that you can eliminate or replace. Do it for a trial period, 21 days, for a month. Set yourself a measurable task to reflect on a before and after when these things are in your life, how you feel. You can journal on these things, track it, and then when those things are removed. So that was the exercise from yesterday. So hopefully that was of value for you. Okay, so let's dive in now for today's core theme, and this is recalibration. Today, we're going to be diving into a very important topic of the nine-centered bioform. And this is very, very enmeshed within the projector identity and who we are, what we've come here for as well. So it's very, very core information, but it's information that's not commonly presented out there. So I'll just get my slides ready to roll. Okay, and we'll start the presentation. All right. Oops. Oh, that's a new feature. I didn't know I could do that. Welcome to doing a masterclass with a third line. Okay, so day 2, recalibration. Let's dive in. This topic, actually, I was teetering on calling it reclamation. I've used reclamation in a projector course before, and I don't know if the significance of it was able to fully land, because it's really about reclaiming the projector that you were really born to be. But I thought recalibration maybe feels a little bit more available day to day. Reclamation just sounds like this big destination, which just creates a lot of pressure, and projectors and pressure generally don't go very well together. So this is more of an invitation to trial and error through your life. Take it from a third line. You get to recalibrate each and every day, and I'm going to give you some very practical signposts within your own body that are going to help you recalibrate and understand where you're off track and where you are in alignment, so to speak. Now, one very important thing to say related to that, our biggest signpost of all as projectors is, one, success is our signature. If you're experiencing success, you're in alignment. But you must reflect on and really get very clear on what success means to you. That is really a very generic word. And in the material sense, that's only one avenue. And we have a very focused and rigid viewpoint as a society of what success looks like, particularly within Western modern culture. So, what does success mean for you? I've realized that one of my key success principles is actually freedom. That's success for me. So it can be something different for you. Maybe freedom resonates with you. Maybe success is achievement, but try and qualify it as best you can so that you really know what that signpost is for you. The other one that we need to really watch for is bitterness. And in the beginning, bitterness can seem like a really strange descriptor. Like the manifestors get such an easy one, it's anger. The generators get an easy one, it's frustration. What is this bitterness? We get all the tricky ones as projectors. Let's just trust that Ra knew that we could rise to the occasion and we would be able to understand or understand. So bitterness, the more you start to bring that word into your awareness, you will start to link it with things in your life that are really showing you that they aren't for you. And you will just start going, oh, that's what that bitterness is. It's not quite frustration. It's not quite irritability. It is really a bitterness. And it's very, very palpable to anyone in the presence of a projector. Our bitterness is extremely obvious and it's very repelling for the other. So these are very important signposts that we need to make peace with and not avoid. If you are feeling bitterness, doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, that you're doing the wrong thing as a projector. It means that you're tuned in to where your no is, where an invitation may have expired, where you haven't been recognized. So even if the invitation is juicy and something you want to do, without that recognition of your projectorness, and it doesn't have to be overt, it's just respecting your boundaries, respecting your spaciousness you need, respecting your energy, your availability, the way you do things, that's recognizing a projector, then you need to know that that is not the invitation for you or that that invitation has expired. And your bitterness is going to show you this. Okay, let's dive in. So let the reclamation begin. There's reclamation. So reclamation, the stepwise process to reclamation will actually be this recalibration day in, day out. And this is a theme that I go into in my work frequently. I finally recognize that there is this cyclical nature, and it's very feminine, in fact, this cyclical nature to deconditioning. We are doing a rinse and repeat cycle. We are calibrating. We get off path. We recalibrate. We get off path. And I guess I can thank my third line process, the trial and error process. You know, it's very, very similar. You try and execute on something, you trip, you re-navigate, you change something, you go forward again. And it's all kind of cyclical. It's not about getting it perfect and making it beautifully linear and a nice amplitude of going up. This is about just accepting that there is a lot of influences that are going on within the world, within your life as a projector. And so as long as you continue coming back to your calibration, it's like when I was learning meditation. I remember the meditation teacher saying, the key actually and the point of meditation is not to empty the mind. It is to notice when the mind has wandered off the mantra, off the focus. That is then bringing yourself back to, okay, I'm back. I'm back. And it's over and over again. You just keep bringing your mind back to that focus, back to that so-called stillness, which is impossible, especially for projectors. Bringing it back to whatever that focus is, the mantra, whatever it is that is your meditation tool of choice. That is what meditation is. That is what deconditioning is. Oh, I'm off track. Come back. Recalibrate. This is my projector frequency. This is what's correct for me. This is success. I have least resistance. These are the things that we want to really understand, that it's cyclical, it's not linear. So you are always beginning again every single day, and that's okay. So the idea of reclamation and recalibration is it's to return you to your projector factory settings. And this is the vehicle settings. It's very, very similar to a car. A car comes out of the showroom, it's got its factory settings. And then you can maybe make changes to that as you're driving the car. The wheels get out of alignment, the tire pressure changes, the car gets scratched. We want to always be returning back to those factory settings, the way it was designed to drive out of the showroom. This is the same for your projector vessel or vehicle. I use the words interchangeably. When I talk about the body, I'm also referring to our vehicle because it's what we're navigating life in, and what our passenger, our personality, and our mind is actually traveling in, not driving, traveling in. So vessel, vehicle, and body, they are all synonymous for me, and they all more strongly calibrate to the design side first. So recalibrating the aura frequency to success, not bitterness. So you want to get really good at understanding how that success feels in the body. Not necessarily what the outer world is showing you, but what your success feels like in your body. So it's like an emotional, a sensory imprint that you can go back to. Success pulls, but bitterness repels, and you'll be able to see this play in your life. So watch for it. It's another clue to know if you are calibrated into your true projector factory settings, your correct frequency, or not. And we can repel very, very easily. I'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, some of the really easy ways that projectors can repel. The next one, we want to shatter. This talk of shattering in human design. I was like, oh, when's this shattering going to happen? And then you start to realize that it's happening all the time. We want to shatter the seven-centered conditioning that was never part of projectors to begin with. This is the big piece of what we're going to be talking about for the rest of this session. So we're going to talk about 7 centers and 9 centers. So prior to 1781, we were Homo sapiens that had 7 centers. Even before earlier versions, the Neanderthal, for example, which isn't exactly in alignment with our species, they are an alternative species, they had 5 centers. Our dogs have 5 centers. So we had 7 centers until 1781. And there's some beautiful synchronicity. Synchronicity is probably not the right word, but this is demonstrated within the Hindu Brahman chakra system with the 7 chakras. But that ended in 1781 because we evolved, we mutated, and a few things happened in 1781. So Uranus was discovered. So what this brought through was a consciousness of Uranus, and we actually moved into a 9-centered vehicle or body. And so this is termed in human design world the Uranian body. Before, in 7 centers, we had a Saturnian body. There's some very important distinctions between these two bodies, and I'll go into that in a couple of slides. The other thing that happened was projectors. We arrived magically onto the physical plane. Although we definitely don't just exist on the physical plane, that is for sure. So projectors, I like to think of it like we were never designed to be 7-centered. So just let that land. Projectors were never designed to operate within the 7-centered system at all. And what's actually been happening from 1781 until 2027 is that projectors have been kind of really deeply conditioned in the 7-centered way. It's been a massive hangover from the centuries before that we were operating as 7 centers. We have just absorbed all of that. And so that has had some benefit because, like I was saying yesterday, conditioning is about learning. That is part of conditioning. And so it's actually been really important. And we really need to tip our hats, it's a very old-fashioned saying, tip our hats off to the projectors that came before us, because they have been in the most challenging circumstances for projectors to live, the least projector-friendly circumstances. Modern life is quite comfortable, really, compared to back in 1781 when the first projectors were starting to come through. We really can take our hat off to those projectors because they started a very deep learning journey. It's like the projector essence, the projector collective, maybe, has just taken on all of this education about the 7-centered way because we've needed to see that. in order to see what has been so that we can help guide into a different future, a new way, the nine-centered way. So we came with the sort of cleanest version of this new bioform of nine centers. The other thing that happened is that there was a mutation in the visual cortex. This brought through ajna awareness. This is very, very interesting. The ajna is in the upper part of the bioform. I'm not going to say it's in the head exactly, but it's there. And the ajna is really our way of conceptualizing things, of answering, of getting insights. So it's very interesting that when we had seven centers, we had a visual cortex that was different, and it was geared for survival, meaning it focused, it was strategic. Whereas what happened was we came into a binary consciousness in 1781 and gave us binocular vision, if you want to think of it that way. This mutation in the visual cortex, suddenly we could see more peripherally, we could be more receptive. Now, that is exactly how the projector is here to see. We have come here and we can see like no other type can see. So that's why we really want to tune up this instrument so that what we're seeing, we're actually seeing the things that are correct for our vehicle to see, and then coming through our authority, through our correct alignment, our outer authority, how we share what we see with the other will be correct. And that is extremely important because right now we have a lot of projectors that are misfiring everywhere because we still have the mechanics to be able to see. We have the mechanics to help, but we're missing the discipline, the discernment, the obedience to wait for the invitation so that we're not misfiring. And so in that way, we're kind of diluting our gifts as well. So the other interesting thing that happened in 1781 and sort of since then, and what we're really moving into now, is a yin or matriarchal revival. And this is due to Pluto. I've got a whole masterclass on this particular topic, this yin revival and the role of Pluto. It's actually in my YouTube, on my YouTube channel, so you can watch that. If this is interesting to you, and it's very interesting to me, it's a really interesting masterclass, very different to anything that you might find anywhere else. And it explains how we really are experiencing a feminine rebirth, but not to take over and be hierarchical like the masculine, but it's being revived to actually reclaim its rightful place. So we feel this sense, and it's been happening in society since 1781, slowly grumbling away, growing stronger. So it's all related. It's all related. Let's talk about seven-centeredness. This is what we're leaving behind. And this is really what we should have already left behind. But the imprinting in our collective consciousness is so deep and so vast that it is really difficult to just by default start operating as a nine-centered being. But it's essential that projectors begin to see this discrepancy and start moving towards actually embodying the vehicle that we have. If we start doing it, we are in a position to guide others to do the same. It's not that projectors are the only ones with nine centers. We all have nine centers now. And we're going to mutate again. So let's just make the most of this particular bioform as we have it. And the projectors are in the prime position to be able to guide the other. So let's have a quick look at seven-centeredness. This is the sheep. This is really the sheep according to Ra. So this was the Homo sapien before 1781. The underlying theme running through the seven-centered being and the seven-centered world is a fear of survival. A fear of survival, very, very specific. And if we look at the world that's been built, if we look at some of the programming still playing out in the world now, even in you, you have this background fear running your life in the mental plane, in your mind, of How am I going to survive? This is a cancer right now for projectors because we're receiving the message and we're resonating with the message that we're not designed to work in the way that the sacral generators work and that the world has set up the 9 to 5 workscape. It doesn't fit for projectors. But then, of course, the projector goes, okay, but how do I survive? How do I survive? How do I survive? And it's keeping so many projectors stuck. And I know I lived it. And I have been deeply deconditioning from this over the past 4 years since I unplugged from the most certain, safe place that was basically keeping me housed, fed, employed, doing good work in the world. But it's a seven-centered construct. And that's not what we're here for. That was homogenizing me in many ways and not allowing me to fully express my uniqueness and who I came here to be and who I came here to reach. So, this fear of survival is a real cancer and it's not an easy one to cut out, but it takes discipline, it takes experimentation, and it will take the deepest level of faith and trust that you have ever needed to cultivate in your whole life. And we'll get onto this a little bit more on day 3. Seven-centeredness was strategic. If you're fearing for your life, if you're fearing for survival, if you're needing to win, if you're needing to conquer, then you need to be strategic by nature. And this is leftness. This comes into variable. Leftness is the old way, this strategic way. We are moving towards the right. The right is receptive. The right is passive. So this is what we've come from, but this is where we're going. And if you think about that mutation within the visual cortex, and we actually went to more of a binary consciousness, this kind of binocular vision, projectors coming and being able to see more of a scope, being able to see more deeply, being able to actually see in different ways that we couldn't before as regular Homo sapiens, we start to understand that this strategic, survival-driven, focused vision was all about winning, surviving. And if that is our modus operandi, then we must control life as much as possible. Control is going to allow you to keep that fear at bay, and control means that you can make certain of your survival. So how do we start controlling? By manipulation and homogenization. And this is exactly what happened. We are living in a sheep culture where we are waiting to be told from an external authority what to think, when to go to work, where to work, how to behave, different social constructs such as marriage, such as when kids should go to school, when it's the right time to have kids, all of these different things. This is really very, very homogenized. And not all of it's wrong, but all of it is going to be wrong for somebody out there as a 9-centered human. So this was how it used to be. And when you really start to reflect on this, and I think projectors are the most able to just sit and contemplate this at a deep level, you will see all the layers of the way that this has played out. If you read books such as Sapiens, you will see through our history that this really has been the state of play. And even though we're living in a very sophisticated modern society now, we are still all being driven by fear of survival. We get up out of bed when we're tired, when we're sick, to go to a job to make sure that we get paid so that we can make sure we have a roof over our heads, etc., etc., food on the table, etc. The other aspects of this seven-centeredness, because we're looking at control by manipulation, that creates a hierarchy. And most of the sheep actually were grateful for the hierarchy because they could see someone that was in control. And so, okay, if you can control things, then I'm safe and I'll do what you tell me to do. And that's what we sort of all signed up for. It was very hierarchical. It was the patriarchy. It was yang, very, very masculine, but not healthy masculine, unbalanced masculine. And it's been on a drive of strategic building, institutions, homogenization, control, war, conflict, win, ego. All of this stuff has been the reality, the background frequency that we have been existing in. No wonder we're sheep. We want to be safe, and so we stay in the flock. The Saturnian body requires a mention here. So what is this? So essentially, with 7 centers, we had a Saturnian lifespan. And this was basically where we had everything kind of, we were mature by 15. We reached adulthood. At 15, we were married, having children, and by 30, you were basically dead. That was the Saturnian lifespan. From 1781, when we got these groovy new vehicles with 9 centers, we actually got a Uranian body. And the Uranian body has got an 84-year lifespan. So it would be really nice and romantic to think that our amazing developments in science and medicine and technology are the only reason that we now have the longevity that we do. And as a medical doctor, it's not the case. This system has really shown that there is something else at play here beyond the modern medicine system that's actually now making many of us sick, that is giving us that longevity outside of the system, outside of the pharmaceuticals, outside of all those things propping us up. Because the reality is what that system is mainly dealing with is lifestyle disease that didn't exist before 1781. So we have got this incredibly resilient vehicle that's designed for longevity. And so what does that do? It stretches out the lifespan. So do you think that you're supposed to be having kids by age 15 and you're in the grave by age 30 anymore? No. If you've got an 84-year lifespan, then you must be hitting maturity, adulthood at 40. Great news. Great news for all of us, right? So it is a completely different progression through life. We are slower to develop. There's more to take in. There is more to develop as a 9-centered human because the goal, the destination of this bioform is self-reflected awareness. That takes time and a lifetime to cultivate. It can't be done and dusted by the time you're 20. So let's have a little bit more of a look at 9 centers. Let's embrace this bioform that we've been given. So 9-centeredness, we are now Homo sapien intransitus. This is a term coined by Ra. He brought this knowledge through. He got to call things whatever he wanted to call them. So you can like it or not like it, but it essentially means that this is the bad news. We've got a great vehicle to drive around in, but it's transitory, meaning it's not going to last forever. There is going to be another mutation in the future to an 11-centered model, but Homo sapiens are not going to be part of that ride. I'm sorry to tell you. We've got about 1,300 years left, so let's make the most of it. The theme for 9, I've just really dropped a grenade there, sorry, but stay with me, be in my world. You'll learn about all of this and you'll have a little bit more support around you than me just dropping that into this retreat. My 4323 is really kicking off today. This is my genius to freak vocal quality where I can just say very random things or at other times say absolute genius insights that will really land. So you have to take a bit of both. The theme is self-reflected awareness. This is really hard to get our head around, but it's basically where we're cultivating such a profound sense of awareness that we have a new level of consciousness that we've not been able to experience in a 7-centered vehicle before. And if we think about it, all the great spiritual traditions have kind of promised this destination of this Christ consciousness, this higher level of consciousness where we're all kind of connected together. And self-reflected means that it's a unique expression through you. So remember, we were talking yesterday in the masterclass about the transits and this neutrino stream and the things that are getting filtered through us and how that can change on a daily basis. You are here as a unique filter. And when your filter is clean at its factory settings, calibrated and moving through the world correctly, you are going to send out the signal on the other side that is correct for you, and it will be unique for you. And it's like a homing signal for your people to be able to find you, the ones that are designed to be guided by you as the projector that you are. We have receptivity. This is this rightness. So we've moved from strategic to receptive. Receptive just sounds more feminine, right? It sounds more open. It sounds more expansive. It sounds more collective. Yes. And this is the rightness that we're moving towards. We don't need this strategic focus of survival anymore. We are no longer novices on the material plane. I know we all believe it. I know we all think that if we drop the job tomorrow, catastrophe will strike. We're all really conditioned into that same belief system. And what so many of us find is it's actually not the case. I was one of those believers, and I'm still here 4 years later after leaving that system. Go figure. Binary vision, I've talked about this already. This is this ajna awareness, but here we go. What is happening in 2027? We're moving to the next mutation, the next opening within this nine-centeredness, and that is our solar plexus center, which is currently functioning only as a motor, a very problematic little motor in our world, the solar plexus, and it's going to actually become an awareness center. So this is another big change. The whole emotional landscape of the way this planet operates and the beings on this planet operate and connect together and collaborate is going to completely shift. Self-authority. We are no longer designed to have an authority over us that is external, that is creating a homogenized flock of sheep. We are here as nine centers to have self-authority. That's why the authority was placed within our bioform. We all have our own, and it's there to be used. And this is going to become much more important and much more undeniable once we move into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is happening in 2027. This is why I am human design beyond 2027. Human design is knowledge for the future. We are playing a very small game with it right now. We're using it as a self-development tool, and that is the tip of the iceberg of what this knowledge is actually capable of delivering for us. It's a map, and it's a map for our future. Yin uprising. This again, this is this feminine awakening. Pluto is moving into gate 41. This is going to be the initiation of a very long Pluto transit. Pluto is feminine. You can watch my masterclass on my YouTube channel if you want to look at that in a little bit more detail. Actually, right now we have the sun and Pluto in the same gate, and it's like this sun masculine energy and this deep, 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 deep darkness. Pluto is the furthest away in the deep, cold darkness, the yinnest of the yin, and we've got these two in the same gate right now. There's some really funky energy about, and there's been some crazy things happening on this planet. Okay, the Uranian body, I think I've talked about that one enough. We get that longer lifespan. So lean back, projectors. There is no rush. The seven-centered way was rushing because we didn't have a lot of time. It was a bioform, a body that was designed to burn fast and die young, not what we have anymore. So the world needs us more than ever. They need the projector speed. They need the projector leaning back energy. They need to feel this shift through us first because it's innate in us. We've got this longevity. We lean to spaciousness so much more easily than other types. So own it. Own it. This is not about rest. It's not about unplugging. It's not about being weak. It's a different nuance. So I hope you can feel into that. But, and here's the big but, it all sounds great, right? But we are stuck with the mental map of the seven-centered way. The psychological baggage that we are moving through the world with that is seven-centered is so deeply rooted in us. It is so heavy that it is very, very difficult to shift, and it requires regular, daily intention around pouring your awareness into who you actually are, not who you think you are, because that's old stuff that we've inherited. And the sooner we can start to break down that construct mentally, the better. And that's why the fastest path to do that is to get out of the mind altogether. It cannot be relied on. as far as an authority goes. It is too programmed in the old way. We need to get into the body, and that's why Ra stressed strategy and authority. That's the golden ticket that is going to align you the most quickly with being a 9-centered human. This is the massive difference from being 7-centered. And it's one of the hardest things to do. It's not easy, but it's very, very simple. That's it. We made it. That was actually the last slide for today. That was deep. We shouldn't have made it. No, where's my other slides? Da, 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 da. This is a fun day. Okay, here we go. I'm like, there was practical stuff we were doing. Yeah, so why projectors? I've talked to this already quite a lot. Why projectors? We must be invited, unlike manifestors. So we have had a complete shift in the paradigm. Pre-1781, everything was built on a manifestor leader basically telling generators what to do, informing them. That is the manifestor way. That has completely shifted now. We no longer have a hierarchy, we have a partnership. The projectors are here to link arms with a generator. We're here to guide them. We're here to walk with them, not lead from above. And certainly the generators are not here to do work that they don't love. This is the new way. Generators will not get burnt out if they're doing work they love. And the beauty is that a projector is in the best position to see that generator and know them more deeply than they know themselves and guide them towards fulfilling work they love because they're here to work. That's not going to change. That is the generator way. So the safety net in all of this is that projectors must be invited. And in order to be invited, we must be recognized. In order to be recognized, we must be calibrated to our correct frequency. This is not mind stuff. This is not using your mind to figure out who the projector is for you. This is the body will lead you to those things when the frequencies are a match, when the magnetism is there. The success will be there. When the bitterness is there, the repulsion is there. And no matter how hard a projector tries, they will not be able to reach who they're trying to reach in the way they're trying to reach them. And the bitterness just continues to cycle. And we have too many projectors giving up and just defaulting back to being a generator programmed super slave. So we are here to gain wisdom on sacral work energy. Why else would we be given an open sacral? We are not here to work like a sacral person. We are here to learn. I've already mentioned this, our openness. This is our place of learning. And every single projector, this is the one thing that we all have in common, and we actually have in common with manifestors as well. Open sacral, not here to work, but in learning through that center, in suffering the pitfalls of burnout, fatigue, doing work that we weren't invited to do, we quickly, hopefully some more quicker than others, learn that that center is really a resource that's out there in the generator realm that we can then guide to use most efficiently. Projectors are really efficient. We have to be by design. So we are also able to see in others and in the world where things can be made more efficient. This is part of us mastering systems. We can then find the most efficient ways to do things. Is it an accident that we have now got the eyes of efficiency in our world since 1781 when we've been so inefficient as a species that we've almost destroyed our planet? We have been so inefficient with our resources that we have almost destroyed our planet. So this is working at so many layers when you can just open to see it. So mastering systems because the institutions, the governmental authorities are going to collapse. We are already seeing it happening. Just whenever you're watching this, you might be watching this in 2 years' time. I don't know. But we are seeing an economic collapse in Germany. In Europe, we would never have thought in modern times that that could be possible. They were one of the strongest economies in Europe, and it's seemingly overnight They are collapsing. Germany is probably one of the most regimented, institutionalized cultures that we really know in modern times. And look what's happening. There is collapse happening. We're seeing collapse happening in the US. So these institutions, these governmental structures are no longer going to be supported post 2027, and they are already starting to crumble because we're hitting 2025. So we don't need more. We're not here to initiate, and this is the other major trapdoor for projectors. We're losing a lot of them down this trapdoor. They are modeling off manifestors, they are modeling off generators, and in particular, they believe that we're supposed to initiate, that we're supposed to inform, that we're supposed to bring in the new. That was the manifestor way. That's what they were designed for. And they were successful in that because that's correct for them, not the projector. The projector is here to look at what we already have, to see fully every resource, everything that we already have on the table and use them differently, combine them in different ways, master systems that already exist and innovate them through generator work. That's what we're gifted to do. That's why we can see more efficient ways of doing things. That's why we don't need a defined sacral to get everything done, because everything gets done. I like that. So we just need to do better with what's already here. If you are a projector out there and you feel like you have to come up with some groundbreaking, brand new spiritual system or something, the next human design, don't. It's not what you're here for. Look at what's already here. Master what's already here. Use all the incredible resources to deeply study everything we have right now. We have more information right now on this planet than we need, and we have redundancy in it. Let's look at what we have. You don't need to cognize anything brand new. It's not the projector mission. Ra was a manifester. Ra had the mission to receive the knowledge to bring forth and initiate and inform about the human design system. That's not for projectors to do. It's kind of liberating once you take your hands off and accept. We are, however, deeply programmed to help others. And this is one of the other big tripping points for projectors, because we will just do it anyway. And we're doing it with the wrong other, at the wrong time, in the wrong way, with the wrong calibration. And so we're getting a lot of pushback. We're not getting recognized. We're getting rejected, even more painful for a projector. We're wasting our energy, detrimental for a projector. So we all need to accept that we're here deeply programmed to help others, but we need to actually really refine what that actually means and look at it in a new way, approach it in a new way, the projector way, the nine-centered way. Okay, here's the really practical stuff. So let's look at the centers. This is going to seem like basics. If you're brand new to human design, there's going to be value here. If you've been in human design for a while, there's going to be value here. If you think that you know everything about human design, there's going to be value here. This is a different way to actually look at this and look at your own design, which is not the easiest thing for projectors to do. It is actually very, very hard for us to see ourselves because it's not what we're designed for. We don't have an aura that penetrates backwards. We're not supposed to see into us. We penetrate out. We're supposed to see into the other. So it's not natural for us to analyze ourselves. So don't get too stuck there. But we want to get some really key principles in place. And that's why I talk a lot about definition. So I'm showing you the nine-centered bioform, the one that we all have, obviously with different areas colored in. But this is just an example. But I want to speak to this from the seven-centered way of operating. Just need to move this so that I can read my slides. The seven-centered way of operating. So this can also be termed the not self. I think that wording gets very, very confusing for a lot of people. So just look at this as if you have any of these centers, pay attention to the words that are associated with each center. And this is the 7-centered version. This is what we don't want to be calibrating to. Okay. Defined head, not common. Only about 30% of people have a defined head. This is pressure, seeking information and answers that don't matter. So you can have a defined head or an open head, but this is the 7-centered expression of that center. Feeling pressure, forcing thought, seeking information, asking questions in things that don't even matter. And it's a huge time suck, and it's wasting this incredibly intricate resource that projectors have, which is a very, very powerful intellect and ability to think. Don't spin your wheels in the wrong places. Be very, very discerning. This is a pitfall if you're operating with a defined or undefined head from the 7-centered viewpoint. The ajna, this center here, the ajna, pretending mental certainty. This is the pitfall, the 7-centered way of pretending that you're mentally certain. Sounds very manipulative, doesn't it? Pretending that you're mentally certain and sharing that outer authority with someone else could be very, very damaging, very coercive, very manipulative, very controlling, very 7-centered. Trying to win. The next center is our throat center. Where's my little dot gone? There it is. The next center is our throat center. Attention seeking. Oh, this is a projector doozy. We all try and get attention, whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously. Because if we have the attention of the other, we have got a subject, a project that we can help. And without that, a projector feels quite lost. We're here for the other. So you can often use your voice to try and seek attention, to try and be recognized, to try and be visible. Be very, very careful. Open throat or defined throat. This is the 7-centered level of operating that center. The G center down here, the 7-centered version is trying to find direction and love. Seeking, 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 seeking outside of yourself for direction. Your direction is in your authority. We are physical objects moving through space. And the only thing that's going to orientate you correctly on that trajectory is your strategy and authority, your inner authority, not something outside. So trying to find direction in things outside is not correct for a 9-centered being, because a 9-centered being embodies their inner authority. The heart center, another bit of a doozy, because only about 30% of people have this defined, but the open heart people, we're struggling, particularly as projectors, trying to prove or improve yourself. These are the projectors that are going out, jumping on every course and program and the next shiny thing in an attempt to improve or prove their worthiness, to guide, to coach, to help, to be visible, to be recognized, to be successful. Okay, be very, very careful with this one. You're already enough. You're born in a projector vehicle. You are already enough. You've signed up for the greatest assignment on the planet for at least the next couple of 100 years. So you don't need to prove anything. Sacral. We all have this problem. Not knowing when enough is enough. Not knowing when enough is enough. That is the projector curse. It burns us out, not knowing when enough is enough. This is from an energy standpoint. This is from a trying standpoint. This is from a forcing, controlling, not knowing when enough is enough. Solar plexus over here, avoiding confrontation or truth. This can get you really bitter as a projector. This is the 7-centered way, avoiding confrontational truth. The 9-centered way is being comfortable with truth, walking with truth, not being afraid if that truth is uncomfortable, because we've got a good, healthy relationship with our emotions. Spleen over here. Oh, the spleen. This spleen is 7-centered. Everything 7-centered has come from the spleen. And it has served us well. It has allowed us to survive, to multiply, to conquer the earth, however you want to look at it. But the spleen is holding on to what isn't good for you. What an amazing metaphor for the seven-centered way. Let's stop holding on to what is not good for us, particularly as projectors. We were not designed for the seven-centered way. We must calibrate to the nine-centered way. Stop, put it down, put it aside, let it go. The root, pressure, the second pressure center, along with the head up here, racing to freedom. Projectors are so eager to rest that they're running themselves ragged, trying to get to the point where they can have a rest. It doesn't work that way. We have capacity that exists in a supernatural way beyond the sacral center, beyond regular energetic mechanics. When you are calibrated and in alignment, you will work as a channel. It is just going to come through you, whether you've rested or not. When you're with the right other, you will gain energy through that. Not from the other, not borrowed sacral energy that you're then going to feel depleted from, but you're going to receive source energy, because you have just been calibrated and aligned to serve the correct other in the correct way, following your strategy and authority. That is the new way. That's nine-centeredness. That is a signature of success. So let's have a look at the 9 centers of recognition. Now, this is where I want you to really look at where you have definition in your body graph. What centers on your body graph are colored in? These are your clues for what you are here as a projector to be recognized for. This is something I personally got tripped up with for a long time. As projectors, we're designed to learn. We learn through our openness. You will naturally gravitate to learn your open centers. So for me, very obvious one, I've got an open spleen. I was drawn into health and wellness. I became a doctor. I became a yoga teacher. I became an integrative health practitioner. I became a wellness facilitator. So doesn't mean all of that is wasted. You've still learned, you've acquired valuable knowledge and information for people. The problem is with that openness, it means it's not consistent. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. And if you're a projector that decides to hang your hat on that inconsistency, you're going to get very exhausted showing up on a day that that is not defined for you. But if you've built your business around that openness, you are going to fall in a heap at some point because you don't have the sustainability. It's not defined. Some days it's there, some days it's not. It's a nice little interest for you, but doesn't mean that you're going to be recognized for it because it's not in your bioform. Your definition is it's open, it's absent. That's for you to learn through. The other is seeking your definition because your definition is what they don't have. I hope that makes sense. So let's look at your bioform, your body graph, and have a look at what centers you have, and let's go through the list. This is what you are here to be recognized for. If you are not cultivating your work, your service in the world through these centers, have a deep think about that and see where you can start tweaking, recalibrating across to your definition. You are going to save yourself so much energy. It is going to be more authentic. It is going to be more effortless because it is who you are already. It's your definition. You just need to unmask it, decondition all of the coats and layers and shields over that definition so that it can be seen by the other. Okay, I think you've got the memo. So head, inspiration and ideas. You are here to be recognized for your ideas and your inspiration, not for executing them. And this is a tricky one. You're a visionary. You are not necessarily the one that then needs to actually make the vision happen. You are here to provide the inspiration and the ideas. The ajna, you are here to provide answers, organize information, and deliver insight. Finally, I am in a realm of work where I feel like my ajna can just do its thing. The tricky thing with my ajna is it connects with my throat, my vocal expression through the 4323. Look, Ra had the same channel, so I'm going to believe that it works, but you've seen a lot of it already on this particular session today. It is a true genius to freak channel in the sense that those insights can be so profound. And I don't even necessarily know where they've come from, but they can just be so odd and bizarre at the same time. And that's the freaky bit. And so it is what it is. And I just have to allow that voice to speak. The more I try and qualify it with my mind and say, I need to say it like that, it needs to sound like that. And I've done this for years and years and years and years because I was trained as a medical doctor and through specialty exams where we had to vocally answer questions. We really got trained on how to answer those questions in the right way and qualifying information, particularly as a doctor. You know, if something is really horrible and awful that you need to tell somebody, your mind is going to come in and sugarcoat it a little bit. Manipulation, there it is. So it's taken a lot to begin to unpack this for me. And it's a bit of a fun journey now because I just let my 4323, as much as I can, do its thing, for better or worse. The throat, communication, expression, manifesting. I don't like that last term too much because I think it gets projectors a little bit lost, but this is about communication, expression. You are here to express. And that may be expressing your emotions if it's connected to your solar plexus. It may be expressing your identity if it's connected to your G center. It may be, like me, expressing answers, organizing information, and offering insights because I've got a connection with my ajna. I also have a connection with my G center. So everything that comes through me, if it is not being filtered through my mind, is really a core part of my identity as well. It's unique for me. The G Center, I've just mentioned it. You are here to be recognized for your identity, your direction, and your sense of self. Your identity, your direction, your sense of self. You will be a great coach and mentor for people that are struggling with direction because it's innate in you. They will come to you for that. Heart, also known as the ego center. You are here to be recognized for willpower. Be careful. It's a dangerous one. It can burn you out as a projector because it's a motor that you can use to really generate a lot of work, but it needs to be used with a lot of intelligence because it's not as strong as a sacral. And when you've got willpower, driving the willpower because you've got a defined heart or ego, you have to be extremely discerning and disciplined and really make sure that you are executing on the right invitations for you so that you don't get burnt out and you don't damage your vehicle. Material world, you just look like a natural in the material plane. It's effortless for you. You are just so at home in the material world. Self-worth and motivation. These guys are the motivational speakers if they've got the connection to the voice. If you don't, some days you will be, some days you won't be. A good strategy for you is do a podcast, whereas you make those podcast episodes on the day that it's really available. And when it's not really available, that connection, then you don't. If you have an open throat, for example. Okay, that's how you can kind of utilize transits. It's not about looking up the transit and booking it in. It's about getting into your sense of self and recognizing what's available to you on a given day compared to your baseline. This is a lot more advanced stuff and it comes with time, but it is available for all of us. Solar plexus, emotions, desires, and passions. You are here to be too much for everybody. You are here to be too passionate because that is your life source. That is who you are. That's who you're here to be. You may be someone, depending on your other mechanics, your other definition and circuitry, that really is here to guide into a new paradigm of emotional intelligence. With that solar plexus opening up as an awareness center, this is the era we're moving into. Very, very powerful time for projectors that have solar plexus definition. We've had a hard run, but I think we're coming into our era very, very soon. Might not be in our lifetime, to be fair, but let's lead the way. Let's create the path. Spleen. This is the health, guys. Well-being. It's also about instincts and knowing. So these are the ones that are just the natural people in the health and wellness industry out there. It is something that is defined in you. It is who you are. It is recognizable in you, that splenic definition. Root, drive, ambition, and energy. You will be recognized as having a bit more oomph than the average projector. Again, it's the same as that heart center. Be careful. The root center has a pulsatile on-off function. And some days when you wish it was on, it will be off. And you just have to accept that. That's even if it's defined. If it's undefined, those people tend to feel a lot of pressure to get things done, which is very, very dangerous as well for projectors to be playing with that energy. So your defined centers are where you can have consistent success. If you are starting to think about, I want to bring my gifts, my work into the world, what should I do? I need clarity. Spend some time contemplating on your definition. If you need support, get a reading that will help you really understand your definition, because it's going to be much less efforting if you are showing up with something that's there for you every day, rather than being tripped up thinking that you have transient skills and capabilities and trying to build a business or an offering or stability or consistency from that, because it's simply not consistent. That's where you're allowing your student within you to just be learning in life, but then you're also showing up in your service as a projector. And these two get to walk side by side. We're capable of this. We're a binary conscious now. We can play with this polarity. You get to have both. It's okay. It's not about monetizing what you're learning in life. Okay, I think we're nearly done. So the nine-centered projector, let's really end this session with a really clear reframe of the nine-centered projector rather than the broken seven-centered projector. The nine-centered projector is visible and magnetic to your fractal. You want to not waste time with the wrong others. Get calibrated, get correct for you, and you will magnetize the humans that are here to work with you, that are here to partner with you. That is the most efficient and the way that you're going to have the least resistance in life. Just calibrate to your nine centers and it will just happen. By living through your definition, I've talked about this to a great extent on the previous slide. By learning through your openness, take these 2 points away and pop them in your pocket and make sure they're handy. They're very, very important distinctions to make as a projector. You're serving and guiding from your definition, not from your openness, as tempting as that is to see one, do one, teach one, that learning pathway that we've all been shown, that strategic learning pathway. No, 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 no. Your learning is for you. It may come out in another way, but it's got to come through your definition. It's very important. Self-recognition. Recognize yourself, but be focused on the other. It's not about you. Just get enough understanding of yourself so that you are calibrated correctly so that you can actually serve the other, because that's going to be the most fulfilling pathway to success for every projector. Requiring recognition and invitation, holding your ground, executing only when invited and only when it's a yes to the invitation. And otherwise, leaning back. This is what the waiting is. It's waiting for recognition and invitation. Cultivate the patience. What are you doing while you're waiting? This is a very common question from projectors. You are working on your visibility and you're mastering your system. That's it. Study, learn, read, master your system, work on being visible, and then the recognition can come. It's very simple. Not easy, but simple. This is like the motto for projectors. Yes, your yes is through strategy and authority. Your yes is not from the mind, and that is a very, very challenging one that really does take years to break down. You are protected from burnout if all of the above are in place. Test it out. It will take a while. It will take dedication. It will take spaciousness. It will take trial and error. It will take rinse and repeating. And that's why the Phoenix Collective membership is beginning on January 30th, because I've recognized that doing a one-off course, doing a 6-week slot, doing a 4-week detox for projectors is simply not enough. We need that rinse and repeat. We need this enclave around us to cultivate all of these things over time. And it does take time. And so that's why I've created a membership that is a dedicated space for projectors that goes beyond just learning and deconditioning. It is a place of collaboration. It is a place of referring for other projectors. It's going to be a hub of hooking up with other projectors so that we're walking this journey together. We're not needing to walk this journey alone. You are here to work and do your unique work in the world. But you are not here to decondition by yourself. It is much more conducive doing it in partnership. We will get there quicker together. So that's why if you can get all these things in place, have the patience, dedicate yourself, commit and go, there is no better work on the planet right now than projectors getting correctly calibrated and deconditioning and becoming who they were born to be. For me right now, I believe this is the most important job on the planet, because 2027 is right around the corner and we're going to be needed. Because when those outer authorities all fail, the generators are going to be looking for something and they're going to be needing us. And that's not coming from a we're better than them, but we have the kit, we have the vehicle for what they need to guide them, but only if we're correct. So we need to do our work first. And that's where you need to do homework. What a perfect segue. So again, very, very similar to yesterday, we are going to continue with that sacral cleansing audio. I want you to really have a tangible experience by the end of these 3 days of just even that practice alone, of listening to that audio, letting that meditation wash through your sacral center twice a day and seeing how that feels on your energy, on your presence, on your focus, on your discernment, on your calibration as a projector. And we have a worksheet for day 2. It's going to be centered around looking at the centers. So you're going to have your body graph, and we're going to take you through a fairly brief exercise of contemplation around looking at your centers, both your openness and your defined centers, just to give you a lot more practical anchoring into what we've talked about on this masterclass today. Day 3, the final day is tomorrow. It's hard to believe. This is going to be our breakthrough day. This is rebirth. This is the Phoenix rising. So we're going to dive into how projectors guide the others. Your vehicle is the channel and the invitation. So that's it for today. I hope you have received some value. Allow this to wash. If you do have extra spaciousness in your time, watch the recording again. You will receive it in time before the session tomorrow. Keep an eye on your inbox. You will get the recording as well as the worksheet for your homework today and the link for the Zoom session for tomorrow. So make sure you keep an eye on that inbox. Thank you so much for being here with me. I trust that you've received value today. Thank you for committing to this journey of this virtual retreat and carving out this time for yourself. It will be invaluable for your journey forward. I'll see you next time. Ciao.